Hello everybody, welcome to my first lesson, Lesson 1, How to Remember the Words You Learn. 3 simple tricks. First one is study in opposites, by which I mean the synonyms and antonym for every word you learn. Second, practice and building. Play games, Scrabble, word search and hangman. Lastly, imagination. This is the key and the most important. Create a joke, a poem, or even a song. Why do we need to learn in opposites? Because the word gets easier to remember. So we have 3 categories for each word. One is antonym, words that have opposite meanings. Second, synonyms, which are words that have the same or similar meaning. Homonyms are words that are pronounced the same and spelled the same but have different meanings. Imagination. The word that we're going to play with is the shoe. So, let me start. There once was a man from Peru who dreamt that he swallowed his shoe. He woke up in fright in the mid of the night to learn that his dream had come true. Next, let's analyze what antonyms, synonyms and homonyms are. The first word is achieve, which the synonym of which is attain, reach, realize, accomplish. Antonym is fail. Second word is active. Synonym would be mobile, energetic, agile, sporty, dynamic. Opposite would be antonym, which is idle. Next word is modern. Synonym would be present day, current, contemporary. The antonym would be ancient. Next would be confident. The synonym would be bold, brave, unafraid. Antonym would be afraid. Next is arrive. The synonym would be come, appear, approach. Antonym would be depart. Let's look at homonyms. What are homonyms? 2 words with the same pronunciation but with different meanings. First one, address. Manner of speaking to another. The second address would be description of a property's location. Second, book. To reserve a hotel, book a room or a table at a restaurant. Next, book. Pages of writing bound together with a cover. Lastly, cool. Chilly in temperature, cool, somewhat trendy or popular. The topic for this lesson is literature, and we will study the vocabulary in a given passage. The book's name is The Remains of the Day. An excerpt means we've taken 2 paragraphs, and it's written by Kazuo Ishiguro. Let me start reading. The words that you will need to know the meanings of are highlighted. Let me begin. I believe I can best highlight the difference between the generations by expressing myself figuratively. Butlers of my father's generation, I would say, tended to see the world in terms of a ladder. The houses of royalty, dukes and the lords from the oldest families placed at the top. Those of new money lower down, and so on until one reached a point below which the hierarchy was determined simply by wealth or the lack of it. Any butler with ambition simply did his best to climb as high up this ladder as possible, and by and large, the higher he went, the greater was his professional prestige. Such are, of course, precisely the values embodied in the Hayes Society's idea of a distinguished household, and the fact that it was confidently making such pronouncements as late as 1929 shows clearly why the demise of that society was inevitable, if not long overdue, for by that time such thinking was quite out of step with that of the finest men emerging to the forefront of our profession. For our generation, I believe, it is accurate to say, viewed the world not as a ladder but more as a wheel. Perhaps I might explain this further. Second paragraph. It is my impression that our generation was the first to recognize something which had passed the notice of all earlier generations, namely, that the great decisions of the world are not in fact arrived at simply in the public chambers or else during a handful of days given over to an international conference under the full gaze of the public and the press. Rather, debates are conducted and crucial decisions arrived at in the privacy and calm of the great houses of this country. What occurs under the public gaze with so much pomp and ceremony is often the conclusion or mere ratification of what has taken place over weeks or months within the walls of such houses. To us, then, the world of what has taken place over weeks or months within the walls of such houses. To us, then, the world was a wheel, revolving with these great houses at the hub, their mighty decisions emanating out to all else, rich and poor, who revolved around them. It was the aspiration of all those of us with professional ambition to work our way as close to this hub as we were each of us capable. For we were, as I say, an idealistic generation, for whom the question was not simply one of how well one practiced one's skills, but to what end one did so. Each of us harbored the desire to make our own small contribution to the creation of a better world, and saw that, as professionals, the surest means of doing so would be to serve the great gentlemen of our times, in whose hands civilization had been entrusted. Of course, I am now speaking in broad generalizations, and I would readily admit there were all too many persons of our generation who had no patience for such finer considerations. Conversely, I am sure there were many of my father's generation who recognized instinctively this moral dimension to their work. But by and large I believe these generalizations to be accurate, and indeed such idealistic motivations as I have described have played a large part in my own career. I myself moved quite rapidly from employer to employer during my early career, being aware that these situations were incapable of bringing me lasting satisfaction, before being rewarded at last with the opportunity to serve Lord Darlington. Okay, we move on to vocabulary. The first word was hierarchy, and it's a noun, the meaning of which is a system in which members of an organization or society are ranked according to relative status or authority. In a sentence it will read, the initiative was with those lower down in the hierarchy. Synonyms would be pecking order, ranking, grading ladder, social order. Antonym would be ungraded, unordered, unranked. Next word is embodied, which is a verb. The word is embody, but this is the past tense, which means embodied, the meaning of which would be an expression of or give a tangible or visible form to an idea, quality, or feeling. In a sentence it will read, a national team that embodies competitive spirit and skill. The synonym would be personify, incorporate, give human form, shape, to realize, manifest, express. Antonym would be conceal, cover, hide, disintegrate. Let's move forward. Next one is pronouncement, which is a noun, the meaning of which is a formal or authoritative announcement or declaration. In a sentence it will read, the sentence would be, distrust of the pronouncements of politicians was endemic. Synonyms would be announcement, proclamation, declaration, formal statement, assertion, judgment. Antonym would be concealment. Next word is demise. It's a noun which means a person's death. A sentence would be Mr. Crosthwaite's tragic demise. Synonym would be death, dying, passing, passing away, passing on, loss of life, expiry, expiration. Antonym would be start. Next word is inevitable, which is an adjective, which means certain to happen, unavoidable. In a sentence, it will be war was inevitable. The synonym would be unavoidable, inescapable, bound to happen, sure to happen, inexorable. Antonym would be avoidable, certain. Next word, ratification, is a noun, which means the action of signing or giving formal consent to a treaty, contract, or agreement, making it officially valid. Sentence would be ratifications of the treaty raised problems in several member states. Synonym would be approval, sanction, acceptance. Antonym would be oppose, veto, reject, refuse. Next word would be hub, which is a noun, which means the central part of a wheel rotating on or with the axle and from which the spokes radiate. Second meaning would be the effective center of an activity, region, or network. In a sentence, it will read, the kitchen was the hub of family life. The synonym would be center, center of activity, core, heart, focus, focal point. Antonym would be outside, exterior. So the next word would be emanating. It's a verb which means originate from, be produced by. In a sentence, it will read, the proposals emanated from a committee. Synonym would be exude, give off, give out, send forth, pour out, throw out, spread, discharge. Antonym would be withdraw, hold. Next is entrusted, which is a verb, the meaning of which is assign the responsibility for doing something to someone. In a sentence, it will be I've been entrusted with the task of getting him safely back. Synonym would be give responsibility for, charge, invest, endow. Antonym would be withhold, deny, retain. I've added another word, which is retract, which is a verb, draw or to be drawn back or back in. She retracted her hand as if she'd been burnt. Synonym would be pull in, draw in, pull back, sheath, put away. Antonym would be permit, go forward, allow. This brings us to the end of this lesson. Riddle time again, number 1. The question is, Island hello, what am I? I repeat, Island hello, what am I? The answer will be given in the beginning of lesson 2. So keep watching. Thank you for watching. Share this with your friends. Do write to me with your comments, suggestions and feedback. Bye for now and see you in the beginning of lesson 2.